No, don't. Don't do that. Marcus paused mid-step, stopping just short of the patio. That voice, it was unmistakably Tasha, one of his wife's closest friends, the one everyone called Tash, like she was a cute accessory. He had just gotten home from a Saturday morning golf round, finishing earlier than expected. As he walked through the kitchen toward the open sliding glass doors, he caught a glimpse of the scene outside and froze. There was Lauren, his wife, stretched out on a lounge chair, her back to the house. To her right, Tasha sat with her legs tucked under her, mimosa in hand. Directly across from Lauren, fiery-haired Amber lazily dangled her feet in the pool. Monica, lying on a towel near the water's edge, looked half asleep with her sunglasses on. Marcus ducked back behind the wall. They hadn't seen him. Good. Something in Tasha's voice had set off an internal alarm, and now his instincts told him to shut up and listen. "I'm sorry, Tash," Lauren said. Her tone was half-drunk honesty, half-guilty teenage girl. "But I can't stop thinking about it. I felt it, and now I can't stop imagining how it would feel. You all talk about it non-stop." "You're playing with fire," Tasha said quietly. "I'll be careful. Marcus won't find out. I'm not going to screw up like Vanessa." Marcus blinked. "Vanessa? What the hell does she have to do with this?" Vanessa was their friend who never shut up about the mind-blowing sex she had after her divorce, always preaching like she was some messiah of seduction. She turned her entire life into a cautionary tale, or a promo for bad decisions, depending on the wine count. "He'll know. They always know," Tasha said, her voice dropping with pain Marcus wasn't used to hearing from her. "You know what happened to me because of Vanessa. She hyped it all up. I believed her, and I lost everything. She became the worst mistake of my life, and now she's about to become yours." "It's just going to be one time," Lauren said. "Just once. I have to know if what she says is true, about the size thing." "That's complete bullshit," Monica chimed in, lifting her head just enough to speak. "If you really want to know, I had an affair back in college. The guy was exciting at first. But once the rush wore off, he was just another guy who only wanted sex. Then I met Bert, and I realized something. Love doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with consistency, with dignity." She took a long sip of her mimosa and stared into the sky. And dignity, by the way, is code for boring. No sparks, no romance. It's like watching golf highlights with no commentary, just silence. Amber, who'd been quiet until now, chuckled bitterly. "I told you this would happen when you started coming with us to the clubs. Told you not to get too close to any of the guys we danced with. You think it's harmless, you just want to dance. But those guys? They're hunting. They want sex. That's all." "I'm not dating him," Lauren shot back. "We drink. We dance. We laugh a little. That's it." "Until last night," Amber said, raising a brow. Lauren hesitated. "Yeah, until last night," she finally admitted. "He told me he has, well, impressive equipment, and that he wants to use it on me." Marcus's heart thudded in his chest. His ears were ringing. "I kept my distance before that," Lauren continued. "But when he showed it to me, I don't know. Now that I've touched it, I need to know what it feels like." She giggled and took a long sip of her drink. "God, I get butterflies just thinking about it." Tasha shifted closer and leaned her shoulder against Lauren's person. Her voice was soft but loaded. "I get it, Lauren. I really do. But Vanessa doesn't have magical sex every night. She sits at home, alone, just like I do. That's where you're headed. And I'd give anything for a man like Marcus. He's kind, respectful, successful. He runs his own business. He's a great dad." She stood up, tying a towel around her hips. Her voice changed harder, sharper. "This is your funeral, but I want to make one thing crystal clear. If Marcus kicks you out, I'll be right there, and I will do everything in my power to be the woman he chooses next." Lauren looked up at her, a mix of confusion and arrogance in her eyes. "You don't understand. I have to do this," Lauren insisted, her voice trembling with stubborn certainty. "Just once. That's all." Tasha shook her head slowly. eyes full of quiet regret. "It's never just once," she said softly. "You think you can control it, but that's not how this works. Believe me, I've been there." Behind the wall, Marcus's hands curled into fists. He couldn't listen to another word. The woman he'd built a life with for over 2 decades was planning to sleep with some sleazy stranger from a nightclub just to see what it feels like after all they'd been through? After everything he sacrificed for their family? Hell no. In a white-hot surge of fury, Marcus shoved the screen door open so hard it flew off the track, clattering loudly against the patio. All 4 women snapped their heads toward the sound mimosas sloshing, faces going pale. Lauren barely had time to react before he was at her side. His hand closed around her wrist like a vice and yanked her up off the lounger. She stumbled to her feet, stunned. "Marcus," she started, but her words died in her throat when she looked into his face. The rage in his eyes made everyone freeze. Tasha, Amber, Monica, they were statues, unsure whether to intervene or run. But Marcus wasn't here to hit. He wasn't a violent man. He was a broken one. Without a word, he grabbed Lauren's left hand, yanked off her wedding and engagement rings, and held them in front of her like they were poison. "My rings," she gasped, reaching out instinctively. "Not anymore," he growled. "You're not my wife. Not after today. So go ahead, go screw your little boyfriend with great dignity." And with that, he hurled the rings over the roof. They landed somewhere out on the street, with a metallic ping, lost in the bushes or gutter. Lauren looked around helplessly, face drained of color. "I heard everything," Marcus hissed. "I always knew you sucked at bachelorette parties, but I never imagined you were actually sleeping with some clown you met in a bar." Lauren crumpled onto the patio, stunned. The concrete scraped her skin as she hit her knees. Amber stood up and tried to calm Marcus down. "Look, Marcus, cool it, okay? She hasn't done anything yet." "Oh, spare me," he snapped. "You all knew exactly what would happen when you started dragging her out to those parties. Especially you, Amber." He pointed at her like he was delivering a courtroom verdict. "You encouraged this crap." He looked around, breathing hard, then jerked his thumb toward the house. "You're all here? Great. Help her pack. And get her the hell out of my house." Monica, always the manipulator, stepped forward with that sugary smile she used to tame her own husband. "Come on, Marcus," she cooed, placing a soft hand on his chest. "You don't mean this." Before she could blink, she was in the pool. The splash echoed like a cannon, Monica's surface sputtering, her smile gone. Marcus turned his back and started walking inside. "I'll be gone for an hour," he said flatly. "When I get back, I want her and all her stuff gone. Congrats, Amber. Looks like you've got a new roommate." He stepped inside, but a second later re-emerged at the doorway, locking eyes with Tasha. "And you," he said. "Yeah, I heard you too. Don't think I didn't. I'm looking forward to our dates, but nothing happens until the divorce is final. And as for your little social circle, they're not your friends anymore. Still want me?" Tasha stood up slowly, squaring her shoulders, her chin tilted defiantly. "Yeah," she said, "I still want you." A smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. He was the real thing. Not a fantasy, not a rebound. A good man finally in front of her. 1 week later, Lauren got what she wanted. Friday night, loud music, dim lights, and the guy she'd been obsessing over for weeks. Tasha stood off to the side, watching silently as Lauren greeted her boyfriend with a kiss that had no shame left in it. Tasha knew him. Of course she did. He was the kind of guy who haunted these clubs like a predator always on the lookout for bored wives with too much wine and not enough sense. He used to be roommates with the guy who had wrecked Tasha's own marriage. That same brand of slick charm, half-truths, and just enough danger to make a woman forget what she stood to lose. Tasha felt sick, not just for Lauren but for herself, for not speaking up more, for not dragging her out of this spiral. She'd known Lauren since 3rd grade. And she knew once Lauren made up her mind, nothing could stop her. Still, a part of her wished she'd done more, especially last month, when she'd secretly taken pictures during their nights out, trying to document Lauren's growing recklessness. She told herself it was to help maybe show Lauren what she really looked like from the outside, a married woman flirting with disaster. But deep down, maybe she knew she'd use those photos to win Marcus. And maybe that wasn't just strategy. Maybe it was survival. Tasha had once told herself she took those photos to protect Lorenzo, hold up a mirror so her friend could see what she looked like in public, a married woman shamelessly flirting with men. Crossing lines she swore she never would. But watching Lauren spiral further, something darker occurred to her. Maybe those photos weren't just about protection. Maybe, deep down, she'd taken them so she could prove to Marcus who Lauren really was. Maybe it wasn't just about saving Lauren, it was about saving him. And, just maybe, about replacing her. That thought made Tasha shudder, because it didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like fate. Lauren didn't even dance with her boyfriend that night. She barely made eye contact with her friends as she grabbed her coat. "See you later," she mumbled, already walking away. Tasha watched silently as Lauren took his hand, both of them disappearing into the neon haze of the club exit. An hour later, Lauren sat stiffly on the edge of a dingy, stained mattress in a cluttered apartment that smelled like stale beer and cologne. The space was tiny, the couch barely held together with duct tape, and laundry was piled in a corner like an abandoned campsite. Still, her heart fluttered with anticipation and nerves. This was the first man she'd touched since Marcus, in over 21 years. "Undress me," he said bluntly, as she reached hesitantly for his fly. But his eyes weren't on her. They zeroed in on her hand. "Where's your ring?" he asked, the tone in his voice changing. Lauren blinked. "Marcus took them. Last weekend, when he kicked me out." He frowned. "Why'd he do that? Were you with someone else?" "No," she snapped defensively. "He overheard me talking to my friends. About you. About how I couldn't wait for us to have sex." She tried to laugh it off, but it came out awkward and hollow. That's when she saw it. That flicker of disinterest in his eyes. Just like Tasha warned her. Without the ring, without the illusion of forbidden fruit, she wasn't special. Just another woman who made a mess of her life. "Don't you want to make love to me?" she asked, her voice smaller now. He stared at her, unmoved. "You're hot," he admitted. "But without the husband drama, you're just another lady who wants something I'm not offering." He stood up, his face blank. "I'll give you what you want," he said flatly. "I know you're here for it, so fine. But when we're done, you leave. I don't do girlfriends, I don't do follow-ups. I seduce married women because they don't expect affection." He grinned with something between pride and cruelty. Then the clothes came off. He dropped his pants to the floor, then peeled off his shirt like it was a job he was tired of doing. His body was unimpressive, doughy in places Marcus never was, but Lauren didn't care. Or maybe she was trying not to care. She wanted to feel something. Anything. She sank to her knees in front of him, trying to recreate some fantasy she barely believed in anymore. After a few uncomfortable minutes, he pulled her up and led her to the bed. She stripped fast, almost panicked, as if the thrill would vanish if she took too long. And now, here she was naked, vulnerable, standing in front of a stranger. He shoved her backward onto the bed, with no tenderness, no anticipation. "I knew you'd like it," he muttered with a smirk. Then he disappeared into the bathroom, door shutting behind him like a judge slamming the gavel. Lauren lay there, staring at the ceiling. The thrill was gone. The butterflies had died. What remained was emptiness. A sick, sinking feeling. Yeah, sure, he was well endowed. Vanessa wasn't lying about that. But that didn't matter. It never did. Because the whole thing felt like her first time all over again. Awkward, rushed, underwhelming. By the time she called an Uber back to Amber's apartment, it had been less than an hour since she left the club. If it had been Marcus, she'd be in his arms right now, feeling the warmth of someone who cared after making love. Instead, she was alone. Again. Tears ran down her cheeks as the city lights blurred through the car window. She hadn't just betrayed her husband tonight. She'd betrayed herself. Part 4. Marcus spent the next week preparing for what he called Phase 2 of his life. Some would call it cold, detached, maybe even heartless. But this was how he processed betrayal, compartmentalizing the pain and locking it away in tight mental boxes he didn't plan on opening again. Running a successful business gave him the freedom to step back when needed. He began delegating more, clearing his calendar so he could focus on getting everything in order. Paperwork, logistics, mental clarity. He had already arranged for Lauren to be served the divorce papers at work on Monday. Not out of cruelty, wasn't that kind of man. It was just the cleanest option. Efficient, professional. She'd been a good wife, a great mother to Caleb, their son, until she decided Friday nights and mimosas by the pool meant more than her marriage. That damn pool. The beginning of the end. Ever since he'd installed it, their house had turned into a weekend sorority. Drunken laughter, bikini brunches, bad decisions. At first, he hadn't minded. He thought it gave Lauren something to enjoy. But over time, it started to feel like he was just a guest in his own home. While Lauren was off chasing new experiences, Marcus got in the car and drove 2 hours to his son's college campus. He wanted to tell Caleb face to face, man to man, like his father had done with him. They had dinner together, burgers and fries, at a tiny joint off Campus and talked about sports and school before Marcus eased into the news. Caleb didn't say much. He nodded a lot, chewed slowly, looked down at his fries. But Marcus could see his son understood, maybe even respected him for how he handled it. Maybe Caleb could tell that his father was doing the hardest thing for the right reason. Marcus stayed the night in a nearby hotel and brought Caleb home with him the next day for lunch. He knew the boy's grades mattered, and he didn't want this moment, this ugly family fracturetto, wreck his academic focus. Back in the city, Lauren was having her own experience. After dinner, Amber asked her the inevitable question. So, was he as good as you imagined? Lauren swirled her wine glass and shook her head. Number it was disappointing. Amber laughed and shook her head knowingly. That's because you need the right guy. I told you, girl. Don't chase fantasies, let me help you live one. Amber explained that she was seeing 2 guys at the moment. They both knew about each other and were apparently fine sharing. They're freaks, she added with a wink. But good. Freaks. So that night, the 4 of them, Amber, her 2 lovers, and Lauren went out for dinner and dancing before heading back to Amber's apartment. Amber disappeared into the bedroom with one of them, leaving Lauren alone with the other. He was handsome, confident, a smooth talker. On the surface, everything a woman might want. They sank into the couch together, kissing, touching. For a brief moment, Lauren allowed herself to be swept up in the illusion. But it crumbled fast. When he pushed her back and started yanking down her underwear, she told him to stop. No, she said firmly. But he ignored her, or pretended not to hear. The moment turned dark, one-sided, mechanical. She lay there, still, as if her body had become something separate from her. This is what it's going to be now, she thought. Men who don't even ask, who only care about what they want. She pushed him off, wriggling out from beneath him with all the dignity she could summon. He scoffed, but she didn't care. She locked the bathroom door behind her and stepped into the shower. I just need to wash it off, she whispered to herself. 2 nights, 2 men, 2 failures. As the hot water cascaded down her back, she began to lather up, hoping to scrub away more than just the sweat. She wanted to scrub away the guilt, the shame, the aching realization that none of this had filled the void she thought it would. Then, suddenly, a gust of cold air. She froze. A figure slipped behind her in the steam. Big hands grabbed her breasts, and a voice as slimy and smug growled in her ear. Hey, baby. I love sex in the shower. You like it in the shower too? He yanked her back against him. He was stronger, taller. She couldn't push him off. Panic surged. She reached blindly past the curtain, hand flailing against the tiled window ledge. Her fingers closed around the only thing she could find, a ceramic soap dish. Without thinking, she swung it over her shoulder and smashed it into his head. The sound was sickening. Ceramic exploded into shards. The man dropped like a stone, stunned and moaning. Lauren stepped over his body, shaking, and climbed onto the toilet seat, screaming, "Amber! Amber! Help me!" Part 5. Lauren stood on the toilet seat, dripping and terrified, waiting to be rescued from the man who just tried to force himself on her. Her screams echoed through the apartment, bouncing off tile and cheap plaster. Somewhere down the hall, Amber finally stirred. Meanwhile, across town, Marcus lay asleep on the couch just as he had every night since Lauren left. The bed upstairs, their marital bed, still smelled faintly of her. And he couldn't shake the thought that other men might have been there. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, the betrayal had already soaked into the mattress. A sharp knock at the door jolted him awake. It was well past 1 a.m. He groaned, still groggy, and shuffled toward the door in nothing but boxers and a worn-out t-shirt. He didn't check the peephole. He probably should have. Because when he opened the door, there she was, Vanessa. The queen of chaos, petite, toned, wrapped in a tight black dress like a little gift nobody asked for. She was the kind of woman men admired from afar until they got close and realized the gift came with barbed wire. "Vanessa," Marcus muttered, face already sour. "What the hell do you want?" She gave him that signature, seductive smirk, the one that probably got her half her way through life. Her voice dripped with syrupy charm. "I thought you might need a little stress relief. Some real company. No strings attached." She trailed her fingers over his chest, moving lower. "Come on, Jax. You need this. I promise it'll be amazing." He stepped back, physically removing her hand like it was fire. "Not in this lifetime," he said sharply. "Go home." Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but she recovered quickly. "Come on, you're not with Lauren anymore. No one has to know. It'll be fun." Without another word, he pushed her gently but firmly back outside and closed the door in her face. She stood there for a moment, staring at the closed door. Then she smiled. She liked when men played hard to get. The next morning, something shifted in Marcus. For the first time in nearly 20 years, he put on a dress shirt, combed his hair, and drove to church. Not the strict Baptist one he grew up with. He didn't need brimstone. He needed perspective, peace. A non-denominational church just a few miles away caught his eye. He arrived a little early, chose a seat midway down the aisle, and sat quietly, folding his hands. The sermon was about allowing God to shape you into the best version of yourself, not for your own sake, but to serve others, to be a guide, a light. It struck a chord. He'd always measured his success in numbers money, deals, productivity. But maybe he was meant to do more than lead a company. Maybe he could lead people, be a mentor, make something good out of the wreckage. He left feeling lighter than he had in weeks. That feeling evaporated the moment he got home. There she was, Lauren, sitting on the front steps, arms crossed, fury in her eyes. "Where the hell have you been?" she snapped, jumping to her feet. "I've been calling you. I came here and my keys don't work. The garage code doesn't work either." Marcus didn't flinch. "You really want to know? I went to church." Her face twisted in disbelief. "Yeah," he continued, "and maybe instead of whoring around, you should try it. I'm sure there are a few guys in the congregation who'd be happy to sleep with you." She stormed after him as he unlocked the front door and walked inside. "Marcus, I want to come home," she blurted out. "I can't live with Amber. Her lifestyle is unproductive. I want to fix things." He turned around slowly, his face calm, but his voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Number, you can't live here. I released you from vows you were already breaking, if not with your body, then with your intentions. She opened her mouth to argue, but he held up a hand. By the way, how was the sex that you just had to have? I didn't, she started, wanting to say, I didn't enjoy it, but the words got stuck in her throat. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Don't lie. I didn't like it, Lauren finally muttered, almost to herself. But Marcus cut her off, voice flat. Don't lie. I've known you for over 20 years. I can see it in your eyes. You've had your fun, and now you want to come back like nothing happened. She flinched, the truth sharper than any insult. There's no turning back now, he said, stepping away from her. You know how I felt about all this. I warned you, Lauren. Her thoughts drifted back a year back to the first time she told him she wanted to attend a bachelorette party with Amber and Monica. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't forbidden it. He had just warned her. This leads nowhere good, he'd said. Maybe not the first night. Maybe not the 10th. But eventually, it'll happen. You'll cross the line. She'd rolled her eyes then, told him he was paranoid, that she could handle herself. He also told her something else, something she didn't take seriously until now. Married women acting like they're single always leads to trouble, he'd said. And not just for the marriage. It reflects badly on me, on our family. What do you think clients will say if they see my wife out there behaving like that? She hadn't cared then. She did now. Lauren reached for him, desperate. She tried to wrap her arms around his chest like she used to, but Marcus stepped back, arms folded. I'll have my assistant, Tracy, send you a list of safe apartments you can afford, he said coldly. She'll email it to your work address. You can come back here to pick up your bedroom furniture, whatever else you want. I won't stop you. Tears welled in her eyes. I can't live on what I earn, she whispered. You have to help me. I did help you, he said, his tone never rising. You never had to work. I provided more than enough. But you wanted your own job, remember? Now you've saved nothing. Spent every paycheck the second it hit your account, and here we are. He opened the front door and gestured to her car. You'll be served on Wednesday at work, unless you prefer a private appointment with my attorney on Tuesday. Your choice. Lauren said nothing, just walked numbly to her car. By Wednesday morning, the papers were in her hand. She had held out some tiny hope that Marcus would change his mind. He always did, eventually. He'd always been the one to compromise, to forgive. But this wasn't the same Marcus. This was the man who had stopped loving her. And it hit her like a gut punch. Later that night, at Monica's place, the alcohol flowed like water. The support session turned into a chaotic girls' night. No dinner, just wine, whiskey, and regret. Cheryl, Amber, and Lauren passed the bottles around like it was the answer to everything. Then the front door opened, and in walked Vanessa. She sauntered in like a celebrity, holding a bottle of Merlot in one hand and Jack Daniels in the other. What kind of pathetic pity party is this? She asked with a laugh. The room filled with drunken giggles as she set the bottles down. Tongues loosened quickly. It was Vanessa, of course, who crossed the line first. I've decided I'm going to seduce Marcus, she announced, running her fingers over her flat, sculpted stomach. That man needs a woman who knows how to handle him. Amber laughed. Girl, please. Tasha already called dibs. Tasha? Vanessa scoffed, standing tall. Does she really think that mom body is going to compete with this? She struck a pose, and the group cackled like they were back in high school. Just saying, Vanessa continued. I already tried, and yeah, he shut me down, but that was before he realized what freedom feels like. I could marry him, never work a day again, and have wild sex whenever I want. She smirked. Or maybe I'll just marry him, take his money, and leave. You know I can't be faithful. Why pretend? For the first time that night, Lauren went silent. It all started to click. What she'd done, what she'd thrown away. Meanwhile, across town, Marcus opened his front door to find Tasha standing there with a casserole dish and 3 boys in tow. I thought you might need a friend tonight, she said simply. They sat out on the terrace and ate together her and her boys playing basketball in the backyard under the soft porch light. The boys laughed, joked, teased each other, the sound of family. After the dishes were cleared, Marcus and Tasha sat outside, just the two of them. She sipped tea. He nursed a beer. "I'm guessing the other girls are with Lauren right now," he said. Tasha nodded, trying to deal with the shock of today's service. She didn't need to say more. He knew what she meant. And he was okay with it. "I'd really like to be with you," Tasha said gently, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for being my friend, Marcus." She didn't linger. The boys had school early, and she respected boundaries, especially his. But before she left, she leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was tender, slow, seductive in its restraint. A kiss that said, "I see you, and I'm not going anywhere." As their lips parted, Marcus smiled not out of habit, but because it actually felt good to smile. That night, somewhere between 1:30 and 2 a.m., his phone buzzed violently against the coffee table. A drunk call. Lauren. He let it go to voicemail. Then she called again, and again. On the third ring, he answered, only to hear her slurred, rambling flip-flopping between sobbing and screaming. "How could you do this to me, Marcus? Don't you love me anymore? You're giving up just like that?" He didn't respond. Not really. What could he say to someone still marinating in denial? To him, the calls only proved one thing. She didn't love him enough to not throw everything away for club nights and new experiences. He hung up. The phone rang again. He let it ring this time, then silenced it altogether. "I'll call her in the morning," he thought, "when she's sober. If she's sober." The next day, around 11 a.m., he finally called. She answered, but not with an apology, not even close. Instead, she ignored last night's disaster and launched straight into her latest plea. "I want to come home, Marcus. I don't belong with Amber. I made a mistake." He sighed. "Did you call Tracy back about the apartment list she sent you?" he asked, trying to stay civil. She didn't answer that. "I just want to come home," she said again. "No," he replied firmly, "because I know you've slept with other men. Our marriage is over, Lauren. And what hurts most, you couldn't even wait to be served. You ran straight into someone else's arms. Was a week really too much to ask?" At that moment, he heard a knock at the door. Looking up, he saw Tasha standing there, holding a paper bag with lunch inside, and that familiar soft smile on her face. He raised a hand, signaling her to wait just a second. He brought the phone back to his ear. "Lauren," he said, his voice now low and final. "You wanted to be single, to try other men, to chase whatever the hell it was you were looking for. Fine, I'm giving you that life, so go live it. If you don't meet with Tracy tomorrow, I'll choose an apartment for you myself. I'll pay the first 2 months' rent. That's it. No more. I have to go. Tasha just surprised me with lunch." He ended the call and exhaled. By 6 p.m. that evening, Amber was done. "Girl," she groaned, pouring herself a glass of wine. "You have to give it up. Tasha isn't stealing your man. You lost him. You wanted to try that guy. You got him. And what did Marcus get? A wake-up call that his wife didn't want him anymore." Lauren scowled, but Amber kept going. "Sorry, sis, but no man's taking you back after that. Not a man like him." Lauren clenched her jaw. "But you didn't stop me." Amber looked at her like she was from another planet. "Stop you? Since when has anyone ever been able to stop you? You do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's who you are." She leaned back on the couch, eyeing Lauren with that blunt clarity only wine and years of friendship could bring. "You want Marcus to pretend this never happened. But you know what? You should be grateful he doesn't know about the other stuff." Lauren turned away. Amber stood up, stretched, and said, "Change into something. Let's at least try to make the best of tonight." 2 weeks passed. 2 very long, very empty weeks. Lauren had slept with a few new men. All of them were duds, selfish lovers, emotionally vacant, more interested in themselves than in her. She'd gone looking for sparks, and all she found was smoke. On Monday night, after work, Monica and her husband Bert picked Lauren up and drove her to the apartment Marcus had arranged for her. It was surprisingly warm, clean, comfortable. He'd furnished it himself using items from their old bedroom, her favorite dresser, her armchair, the painting from the hallway, even the throw blanket she used on cold mornings. Everything smelled familiar. Freshly painted walls, full refrigerator, clean linens. It was as if he had tried to make it easy for her to start over. And that hurt more than if he had left her with nothing. Bert was a quiet man, but a good one. He helped bring in the boxes, hung the clothes Monica unpacked, then left briefly and returned with takeout so they could all eat dinner together. They stayed the whole evening. Monica wanted Lauren's first night alone in the apartment to feel less alone. But no amount of food or furniture could change the truth. Lauren wasn't just in a new apartment. She was in a new life. And it was a lot quieter than she imagined. Cheryl knew exactly what Lauren was doing, dragging out the divorce, clinging to the fantasy that Marcus would suddenly wake up one morning, devastated by her absence, and beg her to come back to their house, back to their bed, back to the fairy tale she shattered. But what Lauren didn't know, what Cheryl would never admit, was that Tasha had been having lunch with Marcus regularly, several times a week. Nothing scandalous, not yet. But the more Cheryl saw them inching closer, the more obvious it became. Lauren's dream wasn't just dying, it was already dead. The longer Lauren clung to false hope, the more unhinged she became. So Cheryl tried a new angle: distraction. "Let's throw you a little housewarming party," she suggested one evening, swirling wine in her glass. "This place needs to be christened, and you need a reason to put on real clothes again." Lauren shrugged. Cheryl didn't wait for enthusiasm. She made the calls. Tasha picked up on the second ring. "Hey, sister," Cheryl said brightly. "We're getting together Friday night. Lauren's new place. I haven't seen you in weeks." Tasha hesitated. "I'd love to. I just need to find someone to watch the boys. Their dad's been working out of town nonstop and—" She trailed off. It was a lie. Not a big one, just enough to sound casual. In truth, she'd been seeing Marcus here and there. Never for long, never crossing the line, but she knew what she was doing, testing the current, checking if he'd swim closer. And he always did. "I'll try," she finally said. "They're teens. I might survive leaving them for a few hours, unless they burn the house down and cost me my security deposit." They both laughed. Marcus had started looking forward to those lunches with Tasha more than he liked to admit. She was the only one of Lauren's friends he'd ever truly tolerated, maybe even liked. She didn't gossip or fish for details. She asked real questions. She listened. She also understood how he worked. She knew he brought lunch from home almost religiously. It was part of his routine: control, discipline, structure, the little things that kept his world spinning. So when she texted him Thursday asking if he could watch the boys Friday night, he didn't hesitate. "Of course," he replied. "I'll take them out. We'll make a night of it." Truth was, he missed being around teenage energy. It reminded him of Caleb. The boys 13, 15, and 16 looked up to him like he was the cool uncle who could still dunk in his 40s. They made him feel useful, whole. On Friday, he didn't wait for her to drop them off. He picked them up himself, tossing basketballs and go-kart vouchers into the backseat like a dad prepping for the best Saturday ever. Meanwhile, Tasha stood outside Lauren's apartment, hand frozen mid-air in front of the door. She took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," someone called from inside. She cracked the door and peeked in. Cheryl and Amber were already there, wine glasses lifted in the air, music humming in the background. Before Tasha could even step through, the door swung wide and Vanessa stormed in, heels pushed past her. "Hey," Tasha barked. But Vanessa didn't even glance back. She was already halfway to the living room. From the hallway, Tasha heard the toilet flush. Then the door creaked open, and Lauren walked into the room, fixing her hair. The air shifted immediately. Tension buzzed between Tasha and Lauren like static. They didn't speak. Not yet. But both knew it was coming. For now, the wine did the talking. And as glasses emptied, tongues loosened. Cheryl, completely toasted, raised her voice with the certainty of a drunk oracle. "We have to help Lauren get Marcus back. It's the right thing." Tasha's stomach turned. It hit her like a gut punch. She wasn't just the friend anymore. She had real feelings now. Deep ones. For Marcus, not Jack. Not Jax. Marcus. The man. The father. The one who stayed when everyone else ran. Then Vanessa, tipsy and cocky, leaned in with a smirk. "You're not getting him back until you sleep with him, babe." Everyone turned. "I'm serious," Vanessa went on. "You gotta remind him what he's missing. Trust me. When I grabbed him, she grinned devilishly. Perfect size. Not too big, not too small. Optimal sex, I call it." Tasha's face flushed with anger. "Are you seriously talking like that?" Vanessa tossed her hair. "Oh, that's right. Mommy's got plans for Mr. Marcus, huh? You think you can get him?" Vanessa sneered, her voice full of smug mockery. "Mommy needs a daddy for her kids, and Marcus is all alone now. An empty nest with no eggs. Why should he raise your kids, Tasha?" Tasha froze, something sour curdling deep in her gut. She had always known these women were shallower ex-husband, used to say it constantly. "They're pretty on the outside and empty on the inside," he'd scoff. She used to roll her eyes at him. But now, hearing Vanessa speak about Marcus like he was some lonely prize to be hunted, it was too much. Before Tasha could say anything, Lauren's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Stay away from my husband, Tasha. He's mine, so back the hell off." Everyone turned. Lauren's face was flushed with rage, her hair yanked back in a messy bun like she'd been preparing for a fight. "I've seen you, you know," she hissed, pointing a finger at Tasha. Leaving his office, lunchtime, don't play innocent. And then she shoved Tasha. Hard. Tasha stumbled backward toward the door, breath caught in her throat. But instead of storming out, she steadied herself and for the first time in her life, said exactly what she thought. Cold, clear, unapologetic. "You don't get to scream about what's yours, Lauren," she said quietly. "Not anymore. You threw him away. You chose other men. You broke what you had." She looked each woman in the eye, one by one. "Marcus doesn't deserve this mess. And don't forget, I know what you've done at these parties. I know how many guys you've pleased under the table. Steph even told me how many you've run through since moving in with her." Steph opened her mouth to protest, but Tasha waved her off. "Cheryl," she continued, turning to the wife with the eternal smirk. "You walk around acting like you can have a boyfriend any time because Bert's too short and too polite to say no. That may be true, but cheating still makes you trash. I learned that the hard way." She glanced down for a second, her voice softening. "You never had kids because you didn't want a mom body. That's your choice. But it's also something you'll never understand. The kind of love that comes from that, it's not something you can Botox your way into." Then she locked eyes with Steph. You're too shallow to ever get married. Men will sleep with you, sure, but no man's taking you home to meet his mother." Finally, her gaze landed on Vanessa. "And you. If every man you've ever slept with stuck out of your body like a needle, you'd look like a damn porcupine." There was silence. Then Tasha exhaled. "I'm not chasing Marcus," she said. "I'm giving him space, something none of you seem to understand. But now that everything's on the table," she stepped back toward the open door. "Yeah, I'm coming for your husband, Lauren. And when he chooses me, he won't even remember your name." She looked over her shoulder, dead calm. "Because I've been where you are. I know how hard it is to find a good man, and I'll never take him for granted." With that, she slammed the door and walked away. Back at her apartment, Tasha sat alone for half an hour. The silence wrapped around her like a wet blanket. The boys were still with Marcus, and she didn't want to sit in the quiet. So she called him. "Want some company?" she asked. He chuckled. "You're just in time. We're switching to batting practice, and my butt still hurts from go-karting." 20 minutes later, she found them at the outfield baseball booth, the evening sun stretching golden shadows across the field. Her boys were laughing, full of energy and life. Marcus was right there with them, tossing balls, coaching, cheering like he'd known them forever. She watched from behind the fence, smiling so wide it hurt. Then he looked up and saw her, and smiled like he was home. He waved her over and held out a helmet. She shook her head. "No way." The boys insisted. Now here she stood, bat in hand, knees wobbly, missing pitch after pitch like a total rookie. But she was laughing, actually laughing, for the first time in forever. Marcus came up behind her, slid his hands over hers, and whispered, "Bend your knees." She did. The next pitch came. She swung. Contact. Not a hit, but not a miss. Just enough to send the ball skipping off the bat, and it felt like magic. His arms wrapped around her from behind, holding her steady, and suddenly, her pulse was everywhere, her chest, her ears, her fingertips. She'd never hit a ball on her own. But with him, she felt like she could hit anything. She laughed until tears ran down her cheeks. Later that night, Marcus followed her car home. She told him not to bother, but he just smiled. He helped carry the boys' stuff inside, said goodnight to each of them with genuine affection, and when she turned around to thank him, he was still there, and not going anywhere. Before Marcus left Tasha's apartment that night, he turned to her with a gentle smile. "You want to grab breakfast tomorrow?" he asked. She didn't hesitate. "I'd love to." On the drive home, his phone buzzed with a message from Bert. Apparently, the girls had decided to take their chaos on the road. They left Lauren's apartment, headed to a club, drank too much, and ended up pulled over. The night ended in the sobering station. Marcus stared at the screen and exhaled through his nose. "Of course." He texted back, "Let them sit in it. They need to learn something." Bert agreed. Marcus laughed softly to himself. "Wonder if Lauren was the driver," he muttered, shaking his head. The irony would have been almost poetic. The next morning, over breakfast at a quiet corner cafe, Marcus and Tasha settled into something that felt warm and easy. She told him about the night before, about Lauren, about what she said to the women. Marcus laughed, not mockingly, just surprised and impressed. "I can't believe you actually said all that," he chuckled. "They needed to hear it, though, especially her." Tasha sipped her coffee and smiled. "I left early because I didn't want to fight her. But more than that, I hoped I left for you." He looked at her, his expression softening. "That's selfish of me to hope," she added quickly. "No," he said. "Not selfish at all." He set his cup down. "I'll be honest with you," Marcus began, leaning in. "Last night, in the batting cage, when I was behind you, helping you swing, it felt right. Like, really right." Tasha looked up from her plate, cheeks flushed. She nodded slowly. "It felt safe, protected." Then, more quietly, "I haven't felt that in a long time." She reached into her purse, pulling out a small white envelope and sliding it across the table. "I know I have a past, and you know what it is, but the day you kicked Lauren out, I told myself I'd do anything to be with you. I knew you'd need proof that I was serious." He opened it. Inside was a clean STD test. Tasha looked away, voice soft. "I haven't been with anyone for over a year." Marcus blinked, overwhelmed by the honesty. "I'm proud of you," he said. "That's real, brave." "I think I fell for you a long time ago," she admitted, eyes fixed on her coffee. "I didn't know what it was then. Maybe it was just admiration. But now, I think I'm really in love with you. And I know you're still married technically, but I'll wait, however long it takes." He reached across the table and took her hands in his. Bex, I know you made mistakes. I was there, remember? I saw the regret in your eyes. I always knew you were good. I just never understood why you kept doing the late-night dating thing when you knew where it led. She let out a breath, gaze fixed on the tabletop. You don't get it, and I hope you never do, she said. But when you're divorced with kids, you can't exactly date. You're always a package deal that most men don't want. But even when you know someone's not Mr. Right, you still crave love, crave touch, and sometimes you settle for the bare minimum, even when it breaks you. He nodded, taking it all in. Why did you let Lauren go on those overnight dates with you? He asked. Tasha looked him dead in the eye. I tried to stop her, but you know how she is. When Lauren wants something, she gets it no matter who says no. I didn't go with her to enable her. I went to try and shield her from doing what I did. I thought if I was there, maybe she'd stop before it got too far. He smiled faintly. You kind of sucked at that job. Tasha laughed, and for the first time, the weight on her chest lightened. Marcus gave her hands a gentle squeeze. I meant what I said on the terrace. When I said I'd date you, I was serious. You were always the best part of her friend group, always the one I actually liked. Our conversations, our lunches, even the way you call me out when I say dumb things. I look forward to all of it. She blinked, swallowing the lump in her throat. You're a great mom, Tasha. But she shook her head. Let's be honest. I'm not like the others. I don't go to the gym. I've got the full-on mom body. People judge me for it. I'm constantly broke. Feeding 3 teenage boys on a single paycheck is a miracle in itself. Child support doesn't even cover their snacks, let alone everything else. Marcus didn't let go of her hands. He looked her in the eye, sincere and firm. You look great, he said. You're beautiful and curvy, and I love curvy. He smiled, that mischievous grin she hadn't seen in a long time. I can't wait to see those curves. I like curvy ones, Marcus said with a devilish grin, eyes twinkling with warmth and mischief. I love curvy, and I seriously can't wait to see those curves. The waitress, who had been approaching with the check, caught the tail end of his comment and smiled knowingly. Marcus didn't flinch, simply grabbed the bill before Tasha could reach for it, tossed his card on the tray, and looked back at her with soft, smoldering eyes. So, he said as they stood up, do you have any plans for the rest of today? Tasha leaned in, her body brushing against his, eyes locked on his lips. She rose slightly on her toes and kissed him lightly, but with promise. I do now, she whispered. It's been over a year since I've done this. Later that afternoon, Marcus stood alone in the bathroom, wearing nothing but his boxers. He stared into the mirror, taking a deep breath as the reality hit him. He was about to have sex with a woman who wasn't his wife for the first time in 25 years. And even though Lauren had betrayed him, broken his heart in the most intimate way, he still felt the weight of it all. The uncertainty, the nerves, the fear that maybe he wouldn't measure up. But when he thought of Tasha Hoff, her laugh, her warmth, the way she looked at him like he mattered, he found peace. She wasn't just Beeks, his ex's friend anymore. She was Rebecca. He opened the door, expecting to see her sitting nervously on the edge of the bed. But she was already under the covers, pulled up to her chin like a teenager on prom night. He chuckled. You hiding? She peeked out and gave a shy smile. You can turn me around another time, when I feel more confident. Right now, this is new for me, and I don't want you to be disappointed. Marcus slipped into the bed beside her and pressed his body against hers. The warmth of her skin, her softness, her fullness stirred something primal in him. You could never disappoint me, he whispered, kissing her shoulder. Your body isn't for anyone else to judge, least of all me. I've always loved curves. Always. His right hand moved to her leg, gently trailing along her thigh, then higher, slow, and deliberate. She gasped, but didn't pull away. He kissed her again this time, deeply. Her breath caught in her throat as their mouths explored, slowly at first, then hungrily, passionately, as if neither could get enough. She rolled onto her back, and he followed, throwing his leg over hers, holding her close. His hand moved up the soft curve of her belly, over her ribs, to her breasts, full, real, and beautiful. Her hand slid across his stomach, slipping below the waistband of his boxers, finding exactly what she was looking for. When it was over, she collapsed against him, breathless. The room was quiet except for the sound of their hearts slowing down. It had been so long for her, not just since she had sex, but since she had been seen. Her ex never tried to please her. Most of the men she'd dated after the divorce had been quick, selfish, one-note. Marcus was different. He rolled her gently onto him, his arms wrapping around her like a safety blanket. He held her close, so close. For the first time in years, he felt like a man again. Not just someone who brought home paychecks or fixed leaky faucets. Someone wanted, someone loved. He didn't fully understand what Lauren had broken inside him, but he knew this. Rebecca was helping put the pieces back together. As they drifted into sleep, still tangled in each other's warmth, Marcus stayed awake just a little longer, memorizing the moment. He woke first. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft gold across the bed. He turned to her, watching her sleep. Not Beeks, not the friend of his ex-wife. Rebecca, the woman who made him feel seen again. The woman whose boys brought life back into his home. The woman who made him wonder what forever might look like, a second time. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Rebecca, he whispered, calling her by name for the first time, not as a friend, but as something more. Her eyes fluttered open. And just like that, the morning felt like a beginning. I don't know where this will lead, Marcus said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind Rebecca's ear. But I do know I don't want to see any other woman but you. I can't assume you feel the same way, but I'd love it if you did. Rebecca leaned in and kissed him. No hesitation, no doubt. I wouldn't want anything better, she whispered. A peaceful silence followed until she glanced at the alarm clock beside the bed. Her eyes widened. Oh my God, it's been over an hour. The boys are probably freaking out. She scrambled out of bed, wrapping the sheet around her, and Marcus finally saw her body fully for the first time. She moved quickly, almost self-consciously, as if trying to hide. But to Marcus, she was stunning. She might have thought of herself as overweight, but all he saw was warmth and softness and strength in all the right places. She was real, and he liked that more than he could put into words. Can I use your shower? She asked, trying to tame the chaos in her hair. Of course, he said, tempted to follow but deciding not to. Being a mom came first for Heron. He respected the hell out of that. He waited as she got dressed, then walked her to her car, pausing just before she got in. I'd really like it if you brought the boys over later, he said. I want to be sure they're okay with me dating their mom. It matters. A lot. Rebecca smiled, heart swelling. That's incredibly sweet. You really want to talk to them? I want to earn them, he said. 2 hours later, Rebecca returned with her sons. Marcus was already out back, grilling burgers. The table was set with potato salad, baked beans, pickles, and all the fixings. The smell alone had the boys lighting up like it was summer break. After the meal, while Rebecca cleared the table, Marcus pulled the 3 boys aside and led them toward the backyard fire pit. They sat down in the fading afternoon light, the fire crackling between them. Guys, Marcus started, I want to talk to you, man to man. They listened, alert and respectful, just like she raised them. I really like your mom, he continued, and I'd like to date her romantically, but it's important to me that you're okay with that, because I like you too, all of you. So I'm asking, is it okay if I date your mom? For a moment, no one spoke. Then, the 2 younger boys turned toward their older brother. He looked at Marcus, squared his shoulders, and nodded. "Yes, sir," he said. "We'd like that." Marcus smiled and stood up. So did the boys. He pulled all three into a hug, squeezing tightly. Then the youngest looked up at him, eyes wide. "Will you be our new dad?" Marcus held them even tighter, heart pounding. "If that's what you want," he said, his voice thick, "then I'd be honored." Rebecca stood in the kitchen, watching the moment unfold through the glass doors. Tears welled in her eyes. Her boys needed a father figure, and she needed someone who'd stand tall and steady beside her, someone who'd fight for her, not with her. She dabbed at her eyes with a kitchen towel as she saw her youngest grab a basketball and dart toward the court, calling for Marcus and his brothers to follow. It was the beginning of something beautiful. Then the doorbell rang. Rebecca turned, confused. "Marcus," she called out, "someone's at your door." He didn't hear her over the bouncing ball and the laughter outside. Still holding the kitchen towel, she walked through the patio door, made her way across the house, and opened the front door. The breath rushed out of her lungs. "Lauren." Before Rebecca could even react, Lauren shoved her hard, sending her stumbling backward onto the floor. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" Lauren growled. Rebecca stood quickly and stepped forward, meeting her eye to eye. "This isn't your house anymore," she said, firm and calm. "It's Marcus's. You live on Richard Street, remember? You kicked me out last night, and now you're crashing in like this?" Lauren brushed past her, scanning the living room. "Where's my husband?" she demanded. "I spent the whole night in jail," Lauren snapped, her voice rising with entitlement. "He had to come get me out." Rebecca stepped forward, blocking her before she could storm any farther into the house. Their eyes locked, inches apart now. "Why do you think that was his responsibility?" Rebecca asked calmly but firmly. "Because he's my husband," Lauren hissed. "That is his responsibility." "No," Rebecca shot back, her voice turning colder. "It's not. It's your responsibility not to get arrested for public drunkenness. He didn't put you there, you did. Maybe it's time to stop blaming everyone else and take some damn responsibility for your life." The fire in her voice startled even Lauren for a beat. But then Lauren barreled past her again, stomping from room to room like a woman on a mission. She searched the hallways, the kitchen, the living room, ignoring how foreign everything felt now. She didn't belong here anymore, and deep down, she knew it. Rebecca followed closely behind, never letting her out of sight. "I know why you're here," she said, arms crossed. "But it won't work. You left him. You broke this, Lauren. And now I'm trying to be here so he doesn't fall into the kind of darkness my ex did when I left him." Lauren paused just long enough for Rebecca to step in front of her again. "You're standing exactly where I was 3 years ago," Rebecca continued, her voice softer now, but no less powerful. "You screwed up. You lost a good man because you did things a married woman shouldn't do, and now you're about to pay the price." She inhaled, her eyes glassy. "You know what that price is? Loneliness. Real, soul, deep loneliness. Every night, I come home to a quiet apartment. No laughter, no footsteps, no one calling my name, just silence." Rebecca's voice cracked slightly, but she held it together. "I'm lucky. I still have my boys. But you? Your son's grown. Your husband's divorcing you. And in a few months, when this all becomes real, you'll be 45, sitting alone on weeknights, praying for Friday and Saturday to come so you can go out and find some Manini Manto warm your bed." Lauren stood frozen, breathing unevenly. Rebecca didn't stop. "And let me give you one more piece of dating advice," she said. "Yes, you're beautiful. You'll have no problem finding men to sleep with. But they won't stay. They never do." She took a step closer. "You'll find guys with great bodies, great smiles, but no substance. Most of them are so selfish, they don't have anything to offer a woman except sex. They're broke, broken, or both. They collect women like trophies to boost their ego. That's all." Lauren looked away, blinking fast. Rebecca lowered her voice. You won't find a husband in those bars, Lauren. Just a rotation of men who want something from you. She paused, then added softly, I didn't plan this, but I made love to Marcus this morning. Lauren's head snapped toward her, jaw tight. Rebecca raised her hand gently. Before you lash out, we both know he's incredible. Caring, patient, passionate. I never knew it could feel like that. Like someone actually cared if you felt good. She smiled faintly to herself. It's a rare thing. Tears began to fall down Lauren's cheeks. I'm so stupid, she whispered. You're right. He is amazing. He's the best lover I've ever had. And I forgot that. I threw it away for nothing. I thought I was chasing some unforgettable experience. She choked on the next words. But I already had it. Rebecca nodded and walked slowly to the patio door. Marcus is outside, with the boys. I can go get him if you want. Lauren stepped up beside her, gazing through the glass at the basketball court where Marcus sank a perfect three-pointer. The boys clapped and chased the ball, laughing. He's a great father, she whispered. I forgot how much I used to love watching him play with our son. She turned to Rebecca. Do you love him? Rebecca didn't hesitate. Yes, she said. That morning was our first time. I don't know if he loves me the same way, but if he chooses me, I'll spend the rest of my life making him happy. She smiled, a soft kind of hope blooming in her chest. We're both heading into menopause, she added with a dry laugh. Our bodies are changing. Life's changing. But Marcus? He seems like the kind of man who will adapt, who will still choose kindness, patience, connection. Lauren broke down sobbing. Lauren's voice was barely a whisper. I actually came here today to seduce him. One last time, just to see if I still had that power. Even if it was miserable, sex I just needed to know if I could still reach him. Rebecca didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. Lauren's eyes welled with tears again. But now I know, she said, swallowing hard. If he made love to you, then it's over. He's moved on. I know Marcus when he chooses to give himself to someone. It's not casual. It's real. He wouldn't have crossed that line unless his heart had already left me. She turned, walking slowly toward the door, shoulders sagging beneath the weight of regret. But before she stepped out, she paused. Tell him I'll find a lawyer. I'll sign the papers. Rebecca nodded. Later that evening, Rebecca told Marcus everything about Lauren showing up, about her confession, about the decision to finally end things legally. Marcus listened in silence. He didn't say much, he just wrapped his arm around her and held her for a long moment. Then he helped the boys gather their things, walked them out, and kissed her tenderly before closing the car door behind her. It was done. 7 months passed. The season shifted. Life settled into its new rhythm. And then, just before their court date, Lauren requested a short meeting with Marcus and his attorney present. She said she didn't want to fight anymore. She just wanted to talk. Marcus agreed. He knew this was her way of seeking closure. At the meeting, Lauren looked older than he remembered. Not because of time, but because of weight, emotional weight. Her once flawless exterior was cracked by loss. Her eyes no longer filled with fire, but with fatigue. I need to say this, she began. I'm sorry. I was selfish. I was moody. I forgot who you were, what we had, and I regret all of it. Marcus didn't move. He listened, steady and unreadable. I knew you didn't want me out with those women. You told me, and I did it anyway, she continued. You warned me that married women acting like they're single never ends well. You were right. Marcus finally leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. Lauren, I tried to explain. I told you this would happen, and I told you that I saw things, heard things. Got photos and texts from people who spotted you in clubs, restaurants, even bars with guys that weren't me. She flinched but said nothing. I ignored it all, he continued, because I loved you. I wanted to believe you'd find your way back. But that Saturday hearing you talk so openly, so carelessly about another man you couldn't wait to sleep with, that was the end for me. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. If I'm not the man you wanted, he said, then I had to let you go find whoever it was you thought you needed. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Have a good life, Lauren. You'll always be part of mine. We have a son, and we'll cross paths at birthdays, holidays, and life events. I'll be polite. I'll be respectful. I'll help in an emergency. He looked her straight in the eyes. But we will never share a bed again. I've always been a one-woman man, and that hasn't changed. He nodded to his attorney and walked out of the room, leaving the door gently swinging behind him. Lauren sat still for a moment, then burst into tears.